Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Something Super Spiritual. I have our resident astrologer in the house today. Dena, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. It's so great to be here again.
Yeah, we're doing something a little different today, you guys. Dena, I wanted Dena here. We talked about this a couple months ago, but this year is bringing about quite a bit of opportunity, shall we say. And with regard to the astrology and the energies that are present and or coming. And I wanted Dena to talk a little bit to us about how we can utilize this to our advantage and utilize these energies. And one thing I also wanted to remind you guys, I know a lot of people think astrology is about predicting the future, and it's not. It's more about forecasting our future, forecasting the weather patterns. You know, when the weathermen know that there's big high pressures coming and big low pressures coming, they know the possibilities and the potential of what is going to happen. And that's very similar with regard to the planets and the energies and the archetypes that are landing and anchoring in these moments. So anyway, Dena, let's talk.
Yeah, let's talk. I mean, when you say it's a big year, that's no understatement. I mean, I feel like sometimes as an astrologer, we say, oh, there's a lot happening this year. You know, almost every year there are things happening. And like you say, you know, it's like forecasting the weather. Some years are more stormy, and some years are just more calm. This year is one of those stormy years in the sense that there's big changes afoot. And so, my intention for this talk is to give people some tools to go through this time with more ease and grace. That's how I think of astrology as helpful for me. Is it's a tool for understanding that there's an order to things and that I can tap into that sense of order. And also to know that I have little tools I can pull out of my toolkit all the time. If I'm having a rough day, if I'm confused about a decision I need to make, that astrology can provide guidance in any moment. And again, it's like Jeff said, it's not about predicting what will happen because we are part of the equation. We're at least half of the equation in terms of using our free will to make things happen in our lives. And we can co-create with these astrological forces.
Yes.
So let's get into it. Let's talk about the big deal happenings of this year in astrology. And so I'm going to share with you not only what's happening, but how to use these events for how to know about them, and so that they can guide you in the decisions you might make or how you navigate through your life. Let's start with the fact that there are big planets changing signs this year, and big planets, literally big, but also slow moving outer planets that are moving through the signs. And Neptune and Aries, for example, are moving into Neptune and Saturn are moving into the sign of Aries this summer. And so that's a big astrological event, which is about endings and new beginnings, with Pisces being the sign of endings, and both those big planets wrapping up their time in Pisces. And then Aries being about new beginnings and taking action. So there's an overall theme this year of planets and Mercury retrogrades and Venus retrogrades moving between the signs of Pisces and Aries. And we'll see this when we get to, looking at some people's charts. We'll look at the area of the chart where Pisces and Aries is activating, because that's where you'll have significant endings and new beginnings showing up in your life. Now, for some people, that idea of endings and new beginnings sounds scary, right? It's like big change. Yeah. And yet there should also be some excitement, because Aries energy brings in the new. It brings in opportunities to take the reins and take action on the things you've only been dreaming about. So that's how I want us to be thinking of this Pisces to Aries transition in its most positive: is time to put your dreams into action, time to kind of let go of being in that nebulous, confused phase and move into more clarity And that's how I'm seeing the Pisces-Aries transition. Let's start with this, a real simple one, this upcoming Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrogrades in general are times where you are asked to kind of step back from life and get perspective. You're asked to not overly push forward, but to rest, retreat, and to rethink, re-strategize. It's all the RE words. Review. We could come up with a whole list of them, brainstorm it. And so there's an upcoming Mercury retrograde, which is on March 14th through April 7th. And it is, guess what, in the signs of Aries and Pisces. It moves from early Aries back into the last degrees of Pisces. So what that one is about coming up is a time to step back from life and review what are the dreams that you have? What are the things that you've been brewing for the past a little while here, especially since the past retrograde, Mercury retrograde in December. And it's time to then figure out what are the actions you're going to take yet, but it may not be time to jump on those actions yet. In fact, I'm seeing a pattern overall that the first few months of 2025 is chock full of retrograde energy, as we're going to see. And so if you're feeling like I keep kind of revving up and I'm not ready to quite go anywhere yet, this is part of why. But after that Mercury retrograde ends and even later into April, there will be more signs and signals to you to get started, to get going. Okay, it's time to act on the things that you specifically thought about and took time to reflect on during that Mercury retrograde period. So just kind of set aside March, especially as this reflective time. During that same time frame, Venus is retrograde. And Venus only goes retrograde every 1.5 years. So it's more rare than a Mercury retrograde, which happens about every 3 months. Mm-hmm. And the fact that those two are lining up together, and guess what? It's again in the signs of Pisces and Aries, right? The universe is speaking to us really loudly about these archetypes, Pisces and Aries right now. And it's letting go and surrender, which is Pisces, and tapping into the dreams and the imagination, which is Pisces, in preparation for taking action and giving birth to something new in your life. And so that Venus retrograde is overlapping with the Mercury retrograde and begins March 1st and goes through April 12th. And just a side note, like if you're getting overwhelmed with dates, all of these things are written on my website. I have a whole page of the dates of the Mercury retrogrades. I have a blog post about the Venus retrograde. I have a post about all the astrological events of 2025. So if you are not someone who can, handle all these dates coming at you, they're all written down somewhere. You don't have to keep track. I'm just kind of giving perspective right now.
DeCastro.com.
Yeah, DeCastro.com, right? And if you go to my blog, there are several posts that reference these dates that I'm talking about. So keeping in mind what the notable retrogrades are is important for your planning in any astrological year. Know when the Mercury retrogrades are so that you can take that time for rest, retreat, reflection. Know if there are any Venus retrogrades happening in this year, which there are. We're even wrapping up a Mars retrograde right now, which feels like it's been going on forever. It's going on since December 6th. And now we're in the final few days of it here, the next 9 days. So it's kind of like we're in this deep winter sleep and we've got a few more weeks of it. That groundhog came out and said, you got like 6 more weeks here.
I'm going back to bed.
Going back to bed. It's hibernation time, right? So if you here's how I use this information. Like I have projects that I want to get off the ground or get going. But I've been really consciously using the first few months of this year for brainstorming, for research, for playing with ideas, and for kind of gathering the tools that I'm going to need for my journey. But I'm pointing at like April and May is that time. It's like, okay, that's going to be the time to pack the bags and go on the trip. That's going to be the time to start. So think about that in terms of your own life out there. How are these energies affecting you? What projects or endeavors do you have on your mind right now? And how might these retrogrades influence your decisions around that? So retrogrades are a huge thing to consider. And then we have eclipses. And wherever the eclipses are landing in each year, it's highlighting the themes of a polarity of signs, meaning the two signs that are opposite each other. This year, the polarity that is most affected by 3 out of the 4 eclipses of 2025 is Pisces and Virgo, that polarity. And again, Pisces, popping up again, right? Pisces, sign of endings and letting go. But on the other side, we have Virgo, which is a sign of planning, getting your details in order, and kind of taking the reins of what your plan is. They're opposite energies. Pisces is not a sign that likes to get into the details or to plan too meticulously. There's a way that Pisces like to be in the overview and like just thinking about and imagining. And Virgo is about the doing and the planning. It's an earth sign. So when you have this polarity activated, that means in your chart, these eclipses will be happening in a certain place in your chart, in a house or near a planet, and reminding you to be aware of the new beginnings that are potentially available to you in the area of your chart that the eclipse is highlighting. But also with this greater theme of Pisces being afoot so much in the rest of the astrology, the fact that the eclipses are also here in the Pisces Virgo polarity is saying, tap into the ideal of surrender, tap into the ideal of letting go and going with the flow, especially around the time of the eclipses. And there are 2 eclipses in March coming up, which I'm going to get a little more in detail to, especially in our readings. And then there's another pair of eclipses in September on the Virgo Pisces axis. So I plan, with my own life, I plan when I'm looking at eclipse dates, I try not to plan extremely important things right on or around eclipse dates. This is a little tip I learned early on in my astrology career because the energy is so big and so many things are in flux. So similarly to a Mercury retrograde time, eclipse periods, especially the 2 weeks before and after an eclipse, are good for getting perspective, for going inside of yourself, for looking at the longer term view, for yourself, like the next 6 months until the next set of eclipses, right? Because eclipses happen in pairs every 6 months. So it's a good thing to be aware of when they're happening and to know, oh, my emotions also might be very heightened, or I might be very super sensitive at this time, especially around a full moon lunar eclipse, which we have coming up March 14th. So yeah, it's really important to just be aware of what's coming down the road with these astrological events so that you can plan your life around it as much as you can. We can't always get it perfect, but we can try.
Does an eclipse affect all of us globally equally? Or does it affect us a little bit more if we happen to be in the path of that actual, like where we can see it, or the shadows coming by, or we
That's
see
a great
the actual
question.
Yeah.
I, intuitively, and I don't think there's an astrological answer to that, although there's astrocartography, which will show you, the path of the eclipse and where that might affect somebody's astrocartography. I think yes, it would affect you more if you can see it. Just, that goes to the heart of how I feel we connect with the stars, we connect with the planets. And if we can see what's happening, it's going to impact us more. However, that said, you don't have to see it for it to be affecting you. Right.
Right.
And that said, also, it affects different people a little more or less depending on where it falls in your chart. Like if it's connecting to your natal planets, for example, if it's conjunct your sun or something of that nature. Um, so yeah, it's varies, depending on your chart and probably where you are. I think that's a great point.
Sure.
Um, so, looking at just the difference between solar and lunar eclipses, first of all, they happen in pairs. So we have, for example, an upcoming lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 14th at 24 degrees Virgo, and that will be followed 2 weeks later, March 29th, by a solar eclipse in Aries. And that's the final Aries of the Aries Libra cycle, just noting that. But solar eclipses are about new beginnings, fresh starts, new chapter or phase in your life, and can symbolize or trigger external changes and events. So they're seen as more potent in some ways, although lunar eclipses bring up deep emotions. They can get you more connected to what's in your unconscious and your dream life, for example. I tend to notice that I have big dreams or a very active dream life around a lunar eclipse, which would be lunar eclipses are always on a full moon. So that makes sense. But yeah, that's just be in touch with, what is happening inside of you during these eclipse periods. And it's always good to do some reflective journaling or talking with a friend and processing about like what's happening inside of me and how is this informing the next steps I'm going to take in my life. Right. It's a check-in point for self-awareness.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. So, the final big piece I want to leave people with in terms of planning is following the lunations in general. So following the new and full moons. And many of you already do this. I suggest if you don't already do this, you can find the new and full moon dates on many apps or astrological calendars. I use like an old fashioned, dust calendar. It as long as it shows you what are the moon phases, when are the new and full, and it will even tell you the eclipses, right? And why that's important to follow is that any new or full moon will get you in a place to do some intention setting, some ritual, and you can use that energy, especially for the new moon, that energy for setting intentions and, aligning your goals with the energy of that new moon sign is something that's even more powerful. Like sometimes you can know, oh, it's a new moon today. But if you know the new moon is in Aries, then you can bring in some of those Aries themes into your intentions and your ritual if you do that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So knowing the astrological sign of the new and full moons can really enhance any lunar practice that you already do. I know a lot of people have new and full moon parties or, the gathering, right? And full moon is more to do with celebration, kind of acknowledging your progress, that it is a more social energy with the full moon often. And it's a good time to practice like releasing rituals and kind of honoring what you've accomplished. So it's different vibe to new moon, which is more internal and like setting goals and intentions.
Yeah, I used to at the new moon, I used to write out my goals and what I was shooting for and ideas and planting those seeds. And I would then literally out in the full moon at night, I would go plant that in the earth, in the dirt.
Beautiful. Yeah, that and it honors the idea of the cycle, right? Yeah. And that's what the moon is all about. It's cycles and change. And with that too, you can get even more intentional and empowered with this full and new moon energy stuff by knowing your natal moon sign, which I'm gonna share with you how to do that. If you don't already know your moon sign, it's good to know it so that when those new and full moons come around that are in your sign, they're like your special moons. So for example, Jeff, what's your moon sign? I
Sag.
forgot. Okay, Sag. So there's a new moon in Sag that's going to be during Sagittarius season, actually. So in the, November to December timeframe, right? And then there will be a full moon in Sag during Gemini season.
Mhm.
So you get 2 moons a year that are like your special moons, your special new moon in your sign and your special full moon in your sign. And you can use those as power times for yourself to really align with your own natal moon intentions,
I
right?
love
And
that.
what it
Mhm.
wants.
Mhm.
So it's just another added practice and a way to align with these cycles. But you can find your natal moon sign. There's a site called Cafe Astrology, and it's just they have all kinds of information, but they have a moon calculator, a moon sign calculator that you can go to. And I'll put that link, I'll send that link to Jeffrey for if you have show notes for this.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that is how you can tap into this energy really easily. I also have an ebook called Self-Care for Your Sun and Moon Signs, which you can get by going to my website, DenaDeCastro.com, and then clicking on the black banner at the top. And then you just put in your email address and you can download that free ebook. But it tells you, once you know your moon sign, which, that link is even in there to calculate it for yourself, then you can go to my self-care practices for both your sun sign and your moon sign, and then practice those self-care ideas around those lunations, around the new moon in your moon sign, for example. Right?
Awesome. Mhm.
Yeah. So I think those are the main things I wanted to share with as far as tools. We've got pay attention to the retrogrades, we've got the eclipses, and then we've got the lunations, and then knowing your moon sign and how you can tap into that energy more strongly during the full and new moons in your sign.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so helpful. It really is so helpful. It's I've had readings with Dena for years where I would go I think it was like October, and we would talk about what was coming up the next year. And when we are planning that following year and we're planning our goals and what we want to shoot for, and to know when the opportunities are landing that provide, a little bit more grace and ease in going about what we are intending.
Right.
It's just awesome. Everybody I have sent you that has had readings with you has just been walked away with such clarity and aha, like, holy cow. I mean, this blueprint of us is very real,
Yeah.
it's very real. And anyway,
Thank
I
you.
highly, highly recommend you guys, if you haven't had a reading with Dena. I saw Sue in here earlier. She made a comment about having a reading with you, and you pointed out a particular period of time that was going to be the potential for her to assist people who needed help, like groups of people marginalized that would need help. And when it happened in the way that it did, we were both just like, wow. I mean, it's forecasting the energies that are present that can propel us in ways that we might not otherwise feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really, I believe in the power of, astrology, but also of intuition too. So, for example, if you meet with a reader, a good astrologer will not only just look at the data or the information that's going on in your chart, but they'll use their own intuition to figure out like what's going to be the best thing I could impart to this person right now. And so I use my intuitive abilities as well as astrology to guide people and to personalize it, because you can only get so much from reading about your chart online, or even doing a written report online, like a computer report. You really need to meet with somebody, to get the full picture and to get that intuitive quality as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of,
Yeah.
let's go into the little mini reads for the people that were chosen.
Great.
So you guys, we'd like to have you come on the screen. The Brianna backstage, everybody say hi to Brianna. Brianna's going to put a link in the chat that you can click and come on screen. If you don't want to be on your camera, that's totally fine. We just want to make it easy for Dena to have a conversation with you for a few minutes. And if for whatever reason you're having troubles making that happen, we'll make it work. Do you want to start? Do you want me to pick a name, or do you have them in an order that you?
I don't have them in an order, so you could really pick any name, and I could just go to their chart.
All right, let's start with Jenna. Jenna Nolan, let us know your head. Roll call. I saw her earlier. Oh, you guys, happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have Jenna?
Oh, okay. So Marie's here.
Marie's here. Great.
Jenna's here. Jenna, are you able to click on the link?
Got it. She says, I'm here.
All right. Start talking to Jenna.
All right. Hi, Jenna. So I'm looking at your chart, and the first thing I'm going to look at is where are these big Aries events of 2025 happening for you? And for you, it is in your 6th house, which is the house of daily work and service. That's where both Saturn and Neptune will be entering your 6th house. So there are major endings and new beginnings happening within the house of daily work and service. And that is something to think about in terms of your current job life. Are you satisfied with that? Where are you dissatisfied with that? But beyond your day job, it can also, the 6th house can also refer to your daily structure of life, like your daily habits and routines. And so it's time to step back and take a look at that as well. Between now and, let's say, July, it's time to shed and release the things that are no longer working for you in terms of the structures of your daily life and personal habits. And if you're retired, I see that. So are there things that are regimens or routines that you're ready to change and to start some new things? Could be diet, exercise, health related, which is also a 6th house concern. And this is basically giving you a boost toward the new beginnings in those areas. One of the other meanings of the 6th house is it's called the house of service. And so it would be good for you to consider, what are the things you're feeling called to be in service to? And one of my astrologer friends recently said to me, remember that service is not servitude. We often confuse those two things. I love that idea of getting organized for you too. Like that's a very 6th house energy, like get things in order for yourself so that you're clear on where you want your energy of service to go. Because it's likely that you will feel a calling, especially during the summer, to take action on the things that are important to you in terms of being in service. The other area I wanted to look at for you is where is that next eclipse landing, just to give you a sense of how powerful eclipses can be and knowing about them. So that upcoming eclipse on March 14th is landing in your 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of spiritual connection, connecting with the divine, whatever you frame that to be. It's also the house of kind of letting go and surrender so that a new stage can begin, a new stage of life can begin. So what I'm hearing with you is like, overall, there's a sense of needing to tie up loose ends. I love your idea of like get organized, because that's a very Virgo grounded thing to do and a very 6th house thing to do, is literally get the brass tacks of your life working smoothly so that your head is more clear so that you can make decisions about what's next for you. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Sure. Okay. Go for it.
We don't have a whole lot of time with everybody, but Jenna, I just wanted to add to this, so Jenna was with us in Sedona, and she went through the event with us. She went through the Reiki level 1 and 2, and she's really experienced some true shifts within. And she just emailed me a couple of days ago and was talking about these shifts, and she's really sensing emotions. She's a lot more emotional. She's a lot more tapped in. And so, Jenna, this synchronistically, she's talking about that eclipse happening within your 12th house. That's the house of spirituality. You, my dear, are opening up in ways that you have yet to experience. That's what you're experiencing. That's what I responded to your email with. And I just want to point out the synchronicities here, because being in service doesn't necessarily mean work. You know, you're retired, but you're starting to feel this internal call, this internal sense, and it can be, you know, working with people in however it might look, just the way that you show up for people. Yeah. And it's not about going out and getting a part-time job. It's not about a side hustle. This is about how you show up to humanity, showing up for yourself, and with respect to that connection with spirit and how you're experiencing it. It's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for adding that, because it really aligns with that 12th house, 6th house polarity that's showing up for her. Okay. Thank you, Jenna.
Yeah, thank you. Next we'll go with Marie.
Okay, let's do Marie.
Hi, darling. It's nice to see you.
Okay, let's see here. Charts. Okay, Maria. And it threw me because I put in Marie and her name didn't come up, but here I have her as Maria. Got it. Okay, so we're looking at, first of all, where are these big Aries events, meaning Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, happening for you? And it's in a very sensitive part of your chart. It's right on your, what's called your rising sign or your ascendant. And it's as they're moving into your first house. 0 Aries lands for you in your first house. So the ascendant is about how you present yourself, how you kind of show yourself to the world, how you step forward into the world with your personal style. And you're a Pisces rising, which means you can be a bit of a shapeshifter. You can change a lot in how you put across your personality and how other people see you. You can be a bit of a chameleon if you want to, which is a great quality. And the Neptune and Saturn moving over that part of your chart are highlighting that aspect of you now, kind of asking you the question, who do you want to be in the world? How do you want to show up and present yourself? It will be a good time to experiment with different ways of, different mannerisms, different ways of style, different ways of kind of showing yourself to people, and try on some different hats. I almost think of it like be an actor playing roles and investigating, like, how do these different roles feel for you in terms of how you connect to people? But the first house, deeper than that, it's also about your identity and your sense of self. And when planets are moving into that house, it's time to prioritize yourself, put yourself first. It is sometimes hard for a Pisces rising person to do that, or especially someone who is like you, have a lot of Capricorn planets as well. And so you're tending to want to work really hard on behalf of other people, and you have a strong work ethic. However, when I look at this transit happening, the message is going to be, especially coming into play this summer and beyond, remember to be enlightenedly selfish, as they say, like really put yourself first in your decision making. And that will go against the grain a little bit of who you are and how you think about things. So it's going to be a growing curve, a learning curve for you in doing that. But if you can kind of keep that bumper sticker in your head of prioritize myself, then that's going to help. Let's take a look quickly at that Virgo eclipse coming up. So for you, also, it is happening in the 6th house. And as I mentioned in the other reading, the 6th house is the house of service, daily routine, daily work. the fact that an eclipse is coming up there and really is influencing the whole month of March for you, it'll be a good time to get clarity on what's next in your work life. Big changes are afoot there this year, I think, for you, especially over the next 6 months. So prioritizing the ways in which you want to be of service to others, and then remembering that you don't have to work yourself to the bone to be of service. There are many ways to do fulfilling service for people and people that you care about and prioritize. So I think any thoughts or questions, Jeffrey?
I think it's awesome. And it landed. I could feel it within you, Marie. You're muted, darling.
If for some reason you guys went out for like maybe a minute, I couldn't hear what you guys were saying. I'm sorry about that.
Oh.
I saw your screen go blank. That's okay. But so yeah, I think you'll hear it back on the recording too. But essentially, we're talking about service and that 6th house eclipse, I think, when that happens. So yeah.
And how you're showing up for people, because you have expansion happening this year as well.
Yeah, I think for me, and I just was like literally like said this yesterday, like I have to stop filling buckets for other people who are not filling my bucket.
Mhm.
So some will say I'm in my villain era. But as I totally like, this was so great and so confirming for me and validating. I mean, it's hard to be a Capricorn and say, well, maybe success looks different for me this year because maybe it's about taking care of myself and not necessarily something like work or a career.
Yeah.
So a couple of times so far in this year, I've said to myself, am I really a Capricorn? Like, what's happening?
The Capricorn part of you is in flux. Let's put it that way. And I think that's part of what I've been about, like playing with different roles and identities for yourself, because you can shapeshift into something a little bit different than you've always been.
Yeah. This was so great. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome,
This really
Marie.
did a lot for me.
It was great to talk to you.
Thank you, Marie.
Bye-bye, guys.
See you later.
Okay.
Vicky. Aw.
Pull up
Hi,
that chart.
Jeffrey.
Hi, sweetheart.
Hi, Dena.
Hi, Vicky. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. So we've got, I'm looking at where is the 0 Aries point in your chart, and it is in your 1st house, similar to our last person. And the 1st house is the house of self. So I'm going to say some similar things, and it'll be slightly different for you in the orientation of, how that combines with your natal planets. And so you're a Gemini with a moon in Leo. And, so you're very socially oriented, I would guess, and someone who really values relationships and putting other people first sometimes with that moon in Leo in the 7th house. And so in a different way than the last person, this will also be a learning curve for you about putting yourself first before thinking about taking care of other people. And the thing is, with your sun and moon sign, there can be a sense of yourself as being very energetic and almost invincible. Like you might have that self identity. However, your energy and time is limited too. And this will be a year of recognizing that and knowing, okay, I need to take action on the things I am passionate about. I need to take action on the dreams that I have been, brewing for a while. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes, the people in your life may not quite understand this new version of you, and you're going to have to teach them, like, okay, or not even bother to teach them and just do.
I should just say I've had my hours cut at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I am enjoying the time off.
Good.
So
you should enjoy.
Like, there's I am kind of going into the things that I like with this spare time.
Yeah. And that's something to really attune to, especially being a Gemini, follow where your curiosity and your interest wants to go, because that's what's going to keep the flame alive for you. And then let's take a peek at where that next eclipse is happening for you. It is happening in Virgo in your 7th house of partnership, where you do have quite a few natal planets. So that is saying the area of change, especially in March, is in the area of relationships. And so be prepared for that, hold space for that, and know that, hey, if certain people are, not thrilled with some of these boundaries that you're setting or some of these changes you're wanting to make, that's okay. Like the relationship can shift and adapt, or it may not, that's
Well,
okay.
yeah, I'm not in one right now,
Mhm.
but I'm certainly open to
Right. No, and there's
a
that. I
new
mean,
one.
the 7th house can be not only romantic relationship, but also close friendships and
Right.
close family relationships. So 7th house is all our closest relationships.
Okay.
So that I would, I would broaden it to that as
Okay.
well. Yeah. So any questions or thoughts, Jeffrey?
I was just going to say, for all of you who are watching this, even though this is not speaking to your particular chart or where this is happening in your chart, if you're hearing anything that is pinging your insides, Dena's speaking to you too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of synchronicity at play when we're on these and we're at these and we are sitting here for a reason, and we hear these messages and we're like, oh, I heard that.
Mhm.
And yeah, I felt that too with you, darling, with Vicky. It's more about the relationships with your friends and family, and setting those boundaries and creating a healthier pattern.
Right. No is a good word.
No is a
Not
good word.
negative.
It's a full sentence.
It's a full sentence. Yes. Yeah. As a Cancer, I need to remind myself of that often as well. I'm with you. So, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you, Vicky.
welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Vicky.
Okay.
Is Melissa here? Melissa Hines.
I'll pull up that chart. Do we have Melissa?
Melissa, roll call.
If not, we can go to, we have 2 more, right? Including
Yeah.
Melissa.
Yeah. Who did I send you? You go ahead and
I
call 'em out.
will take a peek. So who have we done yet? Tony?
Tony, Antoinette. I don't think I've seen her in the chat yet either.
Okay.
How many did I send you? 5?
Uh-huh. And we've done 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just going to do 3, but then
Yeah.
since we received 5, it's easier for Dena to have the charts run prior to. What else do you have to add, Dena?
Well, yeah, I have plenty more I could say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are other things to pay attention to, in this coming year. Another easy one to look at, you use the word expansion when you were talking about somebody's chart. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion and opportunity. So knowing where Jupiter is in your chart can show you where is it time to expand, to take a leap of faith into a new area. And it's helpful to know what house that is in. But I could tell you collectively for the sign, right now, Jupiter's in Gemini. And on June 9th, it's going to move into Cancer, and where it will be for about a year. It takes about a year to go through each sign. So Jupiter's time in Gemini has been about expanding our minds and learning and get kind of, figuring out where do we need to research or learn or study so that we can go to the next level in our lives, so that we can expand. And so putting yourself through the paces in terms of, a course of study or books that you're trying to read, classes and webinars you're trying to take, that's all in alignment with this Jupiter and Gemini vibe. And the message of Jupiter and Gemini is also follow your curiosity. And so that is just a general theme for this first half of the year still, of let your mind be curious, let your curiosity run the show, essentially, and
I love that.
follow the things that you're really interested in learning about. Um, and then once it moves into Cancer in the second half of the year after June 9th, that period is about really connecting with home and family again, and being around the people that feel like family to you, because that's where the opportunities and the gifts come.
Yes.
And it can, home and family can be metaphorical or literal, meaning expansion in home can look like you do a home renovation project, or you literally expand your home or improve it in some way,
Yeah.
right? So the actual home. But it also has to do with expanding or improving your sense of family and what that means in your heart. So it will be a good time in the second half of the year to focus on healing any rifts that have occurred in family or close relationships. It can be a great time to visit family if that feels good to you, that you want to visit, and to be around the people that feel like family. Most importantly, that are kind of your soul kin. The ones that feel like blood, even though they may not be blood. And
Yeah.
surround yourself with that. I think we're all going to be needing that in the second half of this year, like the comfort of the people we trust
Yeah.
and the people that support us.
The comfort of each
Um,
other, for sure.
yeah, the comfort of each other.
Mhm.
And I want to make that delineation between, when I say family, a lot of people go to blood family, and not everybody has a trouble-free relationship with their blood family. And
Mhm.
so that could feel stressful, right?
Very.
To think about very visiting family, right?
Mhm.
However, I want to broaden that to be metaphorical family, not
Yeah, your chosen
blood family.
family.
Yeah, chosen family, exactly. Yeah.
Dena, Tony is here, but she's just
Great.
having trouble getting on. So
Okay.
why don't you speak to Tony?
Sure. Hi, Tony. We're going to take a look at your chart. And so, where that Aries energy was happening for you is in your fifth house, which is the house of creativity, play, and romance. So that's,
Ooh.
everybody likes that word. Um, Creative expression, can be what this house is about. And having Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries here means that you are in a time where you have some new projects maybe that you're wanting to give birth to. And it's good to be in the brewing stage right now, that in this retrograde time that we're in the first part of the year. But then in the summer, it can be an incredibly creative, fertile time for you. So if you have creative projects, if you're that type of a person that, does creative things, this is going to be a time of birthing something new and a lot of supportive energy around that. And the play and romance part of the fifth house also are very alive with this transit, meaning it's time to reconnect with your inner child and what she wants and what feels like play and fun to you, and to do those things in a new way, to do them with a spirit of pioneering and exploration as that summer energy comes in and the boost of the light. um that it also means that literally, you could be in connection with childlike energies, like actual children or working with children, but that takes a more prominent place in your life, starting in the summer of this year. And where that eclipse is happening for you, this upcoming March 14th eclipse in Virgo, is in your 10th house of career, and it's right next to your planet Mercury. So we haven't talked about a chart yet where the eclipse is actually conjunct a planet. In this case, you have that going on. And that means that Mercury for you in the 10th house is being spotlighted. And that's your ability to put out the message about yourself, to share more of your ideas with the world is being highlighted, and that there are some opportunities for bringing more of yourself and what you want to express out into the world to be visible. The 10th house is the house of we call it the house of career, but it is really about visibility and being seen in the world. And you have a lot
Oh,
as well as Pluto, Uranus, and Mercury, all in the 10th
Dena,
house.
go back to you. You froze for a second. Go
Oh,
back
shoot.
to what you said. She has a lot of.
10th house planets.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And so the 10th house is very full for you. You've got planets in Virgo there, the Sun and Pluto and Mercury. So this is an important eclipse period for you. This whole month of March, really, with the peak period being March 14th, to think about what are the ways that you want to be more visible in the world, and how do you want to share what you have to say and what you have to offer with a wider community. So do you have any, I don't know if she can communicate any questions or anything like
Tony,
that.
do you have any comments, questions? Ness says she has a whole lot of 10th house planets as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 10th house is, I mean, we often limit it to being a career house, but it is more broadly about visibility and being seen, and also being able to contribute your work to a wider community. And so people with 10th house planets, really feel a calling to do things that put them in touch with that community so that they can give their gifts.
Okay,
Yeah.
so more synchronicity. I have the Sun conjunct Mars in my 10th house.
Mm-hmm. We have talked about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how really stepping into the spotlight is important for you. It doesn't mean it will always be easy, right? When you have 10th house planets, that doesn't mean, oh, it's going to be like a breeze to do that.
Oh yeah, no.
In fact, I'll often get that feedback from people whenever I talk about visibility, in their chart. A lot of people shy away and say, oh no, it's like, yeah, I know, I remember. But it means that when you do it, you'll feel fulfilled once you have done it. It's that thing of, as a writer, there's that saying, the best feeling in the world is to already have written, is to just have written.
Yeah.
Right. So for you, like, that visibility is the same thing, okay, phew, I did the visibility part.
Yeah.
Now I get to go do something else.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Tony, I hope that was helpful for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah. And thank you, Dena, for
Yes.
being here and doing something a little bit different and a little bit outside your comfort zone. And
Thank you.
yeah, it was just fabulous. And we'll do this again, you guys. We'll let you know. Tom, I saw you here somewhere. Tom, be sure that you're following me. I'll let you know when we need the volunteers to email me with your chart information, your birthday, birthplace, birth time. That's how Dena is able to take a look at your blueprint.
Yeah.
But yeah, next time, this is just so helpful. And it's so helpful for everybody who, even if they're not being spoken to directly. It's the more information we have about astrology,
Mm-hmm.
better, because there's so much narrative out there about just the woo of it. And it's just, and I love the practical, pragmatic, grounded space from which you deliver. It just makes so much sense.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really believe in astrology as a tool to be used frequently and weekly and daily. I mean, I use it that often for planning my own life.
Mhm.
So, in fact, in my work with people, often I'll do a year ahead reading, but I also do that program Transit Your Year, which is every 3 months. And that allows us to look at things like eclipses and Mercury retrogrades in your chart and get more granular in the planning. So if people are interested in that kind of astrological support, you can always check out my Transit Your Year program as well. And, I'm just a big believer that more frequent check-ins are better than to just get one astrological reading. And then that's often a misunderstanding actually about astrology, that you just get that, excuse me, that one reading, like the natal chart reading, and then that's it, but that's not actually how it works. These are tools that you can continue to thrive with throughout your life in a very regular way. So just wanted to make sure people know that as well.
Yeah, well, this is a good place to end. I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that all of you guys are here. Thank you all for being with us, for showing up for this community. I just adore this community. Everybody in this chat room and everybody who shows up always has each other's backs, and the love and the kindness is, those ripples are going out everywhere. And it's so helpful. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Dena. And we'll see you again next Wednesday with Kevin Lewis. We'll be on Wednesday at 5 p.m., our usual time.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.